Cellular respiration is what happens at the level of the cell so that your body can make ATP. Truthfully, glucose is not your cellular energy. Glucose is what's used to make it, which is ATP. It's adenosine triphosphate. I am once again going to draw a big cell. And what happens in a cell, actually now I'm not going to draw a nucleus, but I do want to draw a pretty large mitochondrion. I want to draw that. Looks like a footprint to me when I look at it. That is a mitochondrion. I'll draw a little nucleus over here. This is very large in comparison. Normally, compared to a nucleus, mitochondrion might be like that. Okay, so this is way out of proportion. Once again, I'm drawing it big enough for you to see it. What has to happen is glucose has to make it into the cell. So the cell has to be able to capture glucose. And we also know an important hormone for that is insulin. If you can't capture it into your cell, people that have insulin problems actually get skinny because they can't gain weight, can't get it into their cells. What happens is that glucose is a 6-carbon molecule. I like to draw all of and they're joined. But as we go through this, I probably won't draw them joined. I'll just draw them like 3 little balls. You'll know that they're joined. In the cytoplasm, or the cytosol, this breaks into 2 pyruvates. And pyruvates are 3 carbon molecules. 3 carbon molecules. These then get shipped inside of the cell, and when they get shipped inside, we strip carbon dioxide off of both of them. We get rid of one of the balls. On both this one and that one are gone. So that acetyl-CoA is a 2-carbon molecule. There are 2 of them like this. Okay? So now we've gone from the cytosol into the mitochondrion. Now, what happens is when we go from glucose to pyruvate, we generate ATPs at this step, about 2 of them at this step. And there are probably also, as we saw in another drawing, there are also some NADHs that get generated that will get cashed in over here later. NADHs. There are probably about 2 of them. This is niacin. This is a vitamin B energy carrying molecule. Now, what also happens is when we go from this 3-carbon to this 2-carbon step, then we also have some more NADHs that get generated. So probably from somewhere right in here, we're getting some more NADHs generated. Let's say about 2 more NADHs here. Inside of the mitochondrion, there is what's called the Krebs cycle, or the citric acid cycle. In this cycle, there is a 4-carbon fragment that then picks up this 2-carbon fragment to become a 6-carbon fragment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. And then what happens is through subsequent stages, the carbons get snatched off in the form of CO2. So now we're down to a 5. We get another one snatched off. Now we're down to a 4, which regenerates the cycle, which then adds with another 2-carbon fragment, and the whole thing keeps churning around and around. In this step, we get about 6 NADHs and about 2 riboflavins, about 2 FADHs. And then in this very last step, which is embedded into the membrane of the mitochondrion, by the way, oxygen has to be here as the final electron acceptor. We cash in 6 plus 2 plus 2. We have 10 NADHs. And each one of these cashes in for 3 ATPs. So that's a total of 30 ATPs. Every FADH2 cashes in for 2 ATPs. So So 2 times 2 makes 4 ATPs. And I forgot to mention it, there are 2 ATPs formed in the Krebs or citric acid cycle. There's 2 ATPs there. There's a net of 2 that come from this transition step, which is called glycolysis. This 2 added to this 2 makes a total of about 30 ATPs generated for 1 molecule of glucose when you have enough oxygen. This would be called aerobic cellular respiration. Now, something weird happens over here. I want you to come back over here for just a second to get to this ATP. There's actually, in this area right over in here, and it may even include some of the transition into the mitochondrion, but you generate 4 ATP, but it costs 2 ATP, I believe, to get these pyruvate fragments translated into CoAs to go into the mitochondria. That's where you come out with the net plus 2 in glycolysis. It's a little kind of complicated. That's why I told you I was a little bit creepy in the head about doing this. Now, there is another thing that can happen that's very important. What if you don't have enough oxygen? What if you are not fit enough to bust this whole deal out? Can it still work? Can you get energy? Yes, you can. It's not called aerobic. It is called what? It's called anaerobic cellular respiration. In this case, the pyruvates will not go into the mitochondrion. Instead, they make something called lactate. And lactate is lactic acid. It's what builds up in your muscles after a hard workout. You're sore, but the beautiful thing is you don't stay sore forever. Within a couple of days, you're feeling better. Even if you're not more fit, you're feeling better. That's good. What's happening? These are then being busted down and then eventually shipped through to get the full count of energy out of them, eventually. But for the short term, you're only going to get this plus, you're going to get just a tiny bit of energy right at first and not the full count. That is how aerobic cellular respiration works with a couple of nuances with anaerobic cellular respiration. And it, not bad, not bad. I like it.